Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how I made this simple free sized shirt with collar and side slits. So I achieved this style using 2.5 yards of African print fabric. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure to keep watching and make sure you watch till the end so that you don't miss out on any detail. And if you find this video useful, if you find it helpful, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share this video to your loved ones. So let's jump right into the tutorial. So I made use of 2.5 yards of this beautiful African print fabric. You'll be needing your ruler, your chalk, your scissors and your tape rule. So we're going to start with the back panel of this shirt. So let's go ahead to fold up the fabric. So we're going to start with the back panel of this shirt, and I have my fabric cut out already. It is in a fold of 2. So to get the wideness of fabric to fold, you're going to divide the biggest part of your body by 4. So mine is my round hip measurement. Divided by 4 is 11.5 inches. I added half an inch to it for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So for mine, I have 13 inches on fold. I'm going to be needing 13 inches on fold. So when I open up the fabric, I'll be having 26 inches. So to mark out the full length of your top, go ahead to draw out a starting line at the upper part of your fabric this way. So that line is going to be the shoulder line. So from my shoulder to where I want my top to stop is 30 inches, and I added 1 extra inch for the folding allowance. The next thing is to mark the neckline. Come over to the closed angle of the fabric and take the wideness of the neckline, which is 3 inches, and the depth of the back neckline is 1 inch. After marking, go ahead to connect the points this way. So after that, the next thing is to take the shoulder measurement. So my shoulder measurement is 16 inches, divided by 2 is 8 inches. But because this shirt is a free shirt, I'm going to add 1 extra inch to it to make it 9 inches. And then from that 9 inches I marked, I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope and then connect it to the neckline this way. So from that point, I'll come down by my round armhole measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches for me, and then I'll add 1 extra inch to it because it's a free shirt and I don't want the armhole area tight. So I'm going to take 9 inches and then connect the points together this way. After connecting the points, I'll further extend the line to create the chest line. So after that, the next thing is to mark from the shoulder to the hip line, and mine is 24 inches. Go ahead to mark your own appropriate measurement and then extend the line this way. After that, I'll come over to the hip line that I just marked and take the round hip measurements divided by 4, which is 11.5 inches. I'll add half an inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance to make 13 inches. So I'm going to mark that same 13 inches on the chest line because this shirt is a free shirt and doesn't require any kind of shaping. And then I'll connect the 2 points together to form a straight line. So after connecting the points, I'll mark that same 13 inches on the full length of my shirt and connect it to the hip line. So you should have something that looks like this. The last and final thing we want to do is to take the armhole curve. So come over to the armhole line and get the midpoint of the line. So for mine it is 4.5 inches. I'll mark the midpoint and then I'll just form a curve all the way to meet the chest line to create the armhole curve. So this is basically all for the back panel. Let's go ahead to cut it out. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So on this shoulder area, I'm going to add half an inch for the joining allowance, and then I'll cut out the neckline. So when you open it up, you're going to have something that looks like this. So we're going to use this back panel now to cut out the front panel. So I've gone ahead to cut out the fabric for the front panel, and it is also in a fold of 2. So this front panel is going to be 2.5 inches bigger than the back because of the button allowance. So towards this closed angle, I'm going to come in by 2.5 inches. I'll mark it all the way down and then use my ruler to connect the points together. So this 2.5 inches is going to serve as the button allowance for the front panel. So I'll place my back panel on that line, making sure the center back is sitting directly on that line this way, and just arrange it. So after that, I'll go ahead to cut out the sides. So the front and the back are exactly the same thing. The only difference is just the button allowance that we have in front. So after cutting out to the shoulder area, I'm going to just extend the shoulder line on the front panel. I'll extend the shoulder line all the way out and take the neckline of the front panel. So the depth of the neckline for the front panel is 3 inches, and then I'll connect it all the way to meet the shoulder line, forming a curve. So I'll mark the back neckline width this way and then just connect it all the way down. So go ahead now to cut it out. So after cutting out, I'll remove the back panel and just set it aside. And then I'll notch the point where I want my button allowance to stop. I'll notch it and then proceed to open up the center front. So after opening up, we have two pieces for the front panel and they are going to overlap on each other. So the next thing I'm going to do is to iron my stay to the wrong side of this fabric. So I'm going to iron the stay on this button allowance, the point where the line stopped. So you can use your air stay or your paper stay depending on what you have. So I'll go ahead to iron it on both fabrics and then I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after I ironed the gum stay to the button allowance area, this is what it looks like. So the next thing we want to do is to fold in the allowance. So remember we took 2.5 inches as the button allowance. We are only going to be folding 1.5 inches. So the remaining 1 inches is going to overlap in front. I hope you guys understand. So go ahead to fold in half an inch first and then iron it so that it lays down flat. After you've ironed the half an inch, fold in 1 inch again so that it stops at that point where you notched, and then iron it out. So make sure to iron this out very well before you go ahead to stitch it down. So after ironing, I'll go ahead to stitch it all the way down. Fold in half an inch first, iron it out, and then fold in 1 inch so that it ends at that notch point. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing, and then stitch it all the way down to create the button allowance. So when I'm done, I'm going to repeat the same thing on this other side. I'll fold in half an inch first and then fold in another 1 inch, then iron it all the way down and then stitch it. When I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So let me quickly show you guys what it looks like after I folded in with the iron. So I have gone ahead to fold it half an inch and 1 inch. So the next thing I'm going to do is to stitch it all the way down, and I'll also stitch the other one down. So when I'm done with that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, after stitching down the button allowance, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to iron it out. This is the wrong side. So the next thing I want to do is to join the front and the back panels together. So I'm going to open up the back this way, and then I'll arrange the front panel, making sure the right sides are facing each other. So when you arrange it, you notice that the front panels are overlapping on each other this way. So you can see how it overlaps on each other. So right now, take it to my sewing machine and then I'll join the shoulder area using the half an inch I added. I'll join the two sides. So when I'm done with that, I'll come over to this side. So we're going to be having an opening, like a slit at the side of this shirt. So I'm going to take from the shoulder to where I want the slit to start. So I'll come down by 20 inches. But I later made use of 18 inches. It just depends on how open you want the side to be. So I'm going to take my 1 inch seam allowance now and stitch from that side all the way up. I'll stitch from where I want the opening to start all the way up, and then I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. Measure from the highest part of the shoulder to where you want the slit to start, and then close up the remaining part this way. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after joining the shoulders and closing up the sides, this is what it looks like. So you can see how the button allowance are sitting on top of each other. So this is what the slit at the side of the shirt looks like. And on the wrong side, I went ahead to open up the seam, the side seam, and I ironed it out so that it lays down flat. So you can decide to seal it up with your hemming gum, or you can also fold in twice. So for mine, I'll just fold in half an inch and fold in again. I'll iron it out and then go ahead to stitch it all the way down. I'll repeat the same thing for this other side. Fold it in twice and stitch it down. then iron it so that it lays down flat. So when I'm done, I'm going to repeat the same thing for this other side. I'll fold in twice this way and stitch it all the way down. So after that, I'll also finish up the base of the shirt. I'll fold in twice, the 1 inch we added, I'll fold it in twice and stitch it all the way down. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after I finished up the side opening, this is what it looks like on the wrong side. You can see how neat it looks. I have also folded in the base twice and stitched it all around. So this is what we have on the wrong side. So the next thing we want to do is to cut out the sleeve. Next thing I want to do is to work on the sleeves. So I'm going to show you guys now how to cut it out and how to attach it to the shirt. So for the sleeve, I'm going to have to cut out my fabric and it is in a fold of 2. So I'm cutting the 2 sleeves together and this is the closed angle of the fabric. So to get the wideness of fabric to fold, go ahead to divide your round armhole measurement divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches. I added 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance, making 10 inches. Although I have some excess there. So for the length of my sleeve, I'm going to be working with 10 inches and I added 1 extra inch to it for my folding allowance. I also have some excess there. So the first thing to do is to mark the cap's height and mine is 4 inches. From the upper part of my fabric, I'll come down by 4 inches. So to get your cap's height, divide your round bust measurement by 12 and add half an inch to it. So I'll just go ahead to extend the lines this way. So after extending the line, I'll come over from the closed angle and mark my round armhole measurements divided by 2, which is 8 inches, add 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. And then from this upper part of my fabric, I'm going to connect it all the way to that 10 inches that I marked. And then from that point also, I'll just form a curve up and also form a curve down. This is just a basic short sleeve. This is what you should have after curving it out. So I'll come over to the length of my sleeve and mark the round bicep measurements divided by 2. I'll add 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance, making 8.5 inches, and then I'll connect the points together this way. After that, let's go ahead to cut out the sleeve. So we're cutting the 2 sleeves together. So after cutting out, make sure to notch the highest part of the sleeve, which is the apex. Go ahead to notch it. So this is what we have. So right now, take it to my sewing machine and close it up using the 1 inch seam allowance. So when I'm done, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after I closed up the sleeve on the wrong side and then turned over to the right, this is what it looks like. The next thing is to attach the sleeve to the shirt. So I'll flip my shirt to the wrong side and pass the right side of my sleeve through the armhole this way. So right now the right sides should be facing each other, and then merge that apex of the sleeve where you notch to the shoulder joining, and then the side joining to the part where you joined the sleeve this way. So after doing that, you can go ahead to use your pin to just secure the sleeves into the armhole, or you can also just take it to your sewing machine this way and stitch it all the way around it. So I'll insert the other sleeve and then I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after inserting the sleeve, this is what it looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks, and I also folded the base in twice and stitched it all around. So the next thing we want to do now is to work on the collar. So go ahead to measure what you have all around the neckline. Open up the neckline of your shirt and then measure what you have all around, just as you can see me doing in the video. So make sure to do this carefully so that you can get the accurate measurement. So for mine, I got 22 inches. So let me show you guys how to cut out the collar. So I'll be drafting the collar directly on the fabric, and it's a simple cut together collar. So the wideness of this fabric here is the wideness of the neckline I measured, which is 22 inches, and I added 1 extra inch for the joining allowance. And the height of my collar here, I have 4 inches. I'll take out half an inch at the upper part for joining and half an inch at the lower part as well. So I'll be left with 3 inches. So if you don't want your collar as bold as mine, you can reduce it to 3 inches. So I have placed the 2 fabrics right sides facing each other, and from the upper part, I'll come down by 2.5 inches. And then I'll mark a straight line all the way down. So I'm gonna have to divide it now. The lower part is for the collar stand, while the upper one is for the main collar. So fold the 2 fabrics into 2 this way and come over to the opened angle. So from that open angle, I'll come in by 1 inch. And then from that 1 inch, I'll go ahead to just form a slight curve all the way to the base of the collar, and the upper one I'll also draw it all the way up. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So after cutting out, this is what it will look like. So right now I'm going to iron my collar stay to the wrong side of the fabric. If you're working with collar stay, just iron to one of the fabric, but if you don't have a collar stay, you can use layers of paper stay to do that. So after ironing, I'm going to fold in this lower part, which is the part that has the collar stand. I'll fold it in and iron it out, and then after that I'll go ahead to stitch it closed this way using that 1/2 inch that I added. I'll stitch it all the way closed after folding it. So when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So I'm gonna head to iron my paper stay to both sides of the fabrics, and this is what I was trying to explain. I have ironed in that 1/2 inch towards the collar stand, and then right now I'll place it right sides facing each other. Place it this way and then use 1/2 inch to close it up all the way around it. So the collar stand area that has the opening is going to be the one that will go around the neckline. So when I'm done doing that, I'll flip it over to the right side and show you guys. So guys, after I stitched it down, this is what it looks like. So before I turn it over to the right side, I'm going to cut out the seam allowance so that it remains just a little bit of fabric. So go ahead to trim out the seam allowance so that you're just left with a little bit of fabric here. So this is going to help it sit very well on the right side. So after cutting out, I'm going to then turn it over to the right side. So you're going to need something to push out the edges so that it comes out completely. Make sure to push out all the sharp edges so that it comes out completely. So after turning it over, I'm going to iron it so that it lays flat, and then I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So guys, after I ironed out the collar, this is what it looks like. I also folded in the collar stand area, and this is what your collar is going to look like at the end of the day. So note that there are other methods of cutting out a collar. This is just a simple cut together collar. So let's go ahead to fix it to the neckline. So I'll open up the neckline this way. So the open part, I'm going to then insert the neckline of my shirt into it, starting from one edge. So while I'm inserting, I'm going to just stitch it down. So if you got the right measurement of the neckline, it is going to fit in perfectly into your collar opening, just like you can see mine. So it will fit in perfectly all the way to the other edge, and then go ahead to stitch it all the way down. You can use your pins to hold it down before stitching. So after I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys the finished product of this shirt. So after inserting the collar into the neckline, this is what it looks like. So you can see how beautiful this looks and how easy it is to achieve. So the final thing for this shirt now is to insert your buttons, to sew down your buttons, and also create buttonholes on the other side. So go ahead to do that. This is what the finished product of the shirt looks like. See how beautiful it looks. So this is what we end this video for today, guys. I hope you found it useful and I hope you learned something new. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share this video to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.